Don't hang up that phone. We've found what you're looking for. Welcome to the Let's Talk Cabling Podcast with Chuck Bowser, RCDD. Well, seeing how we're pulling Category 6A, the most powerful twisted pair in the world, you gotta ask yourself this one question. Did I pull 295 or 300 feet? Well, do you feel lucky? Do you, punk? What exactly does RCDD stand for? Registered Communications Distribution Designer. Just the expert you need to ensure your cable plant performs exactly as designed. The elite professional, knowledgeable, and experienced in leading-edge ICT design principles. Now, send the new guy to the truck for a bucket of dial tone and the cable stretchers, while you listen to an informative program on telecommunications.
Welcome to After Hours Ask Chuck Bowser, RCDD Live. How's everybody doing tonight? Glad to have everybody here. A bucket of dial tone. I like that. A bucket of dial tone. That's a trick that we used to pull on our new guys, because dial tone is the sound that you hear when you pick up a landline. And we would send our new guys out to go get a bucket of dial tone, and we used to mess with them to do that kind of stuff. Yeah, we used to pull all kinds of jokes on our people, right? So let me see. We are live. Everything's broadcasting fine and dandy. So how is everybody doing tonight? You know, we always start off every show with, what are you drinking? What are you drinking? That's always start off every show. Now, this looks like water. I think you guys can see it there. I got TikTok going live right here. It looks like water, but this is actually root beer Zevia soda. Root beer Zevia soda. How about go to the warehouse for some frequency greens? That's a good one too. Yes. So what are you drinking tonight? Tell me in the chats and the comments. What are you drinking? I love my Zevia sodas. No sugar, no caffeine, all that fun stuff. So let's check in the chat box, see what people are drinking. And Anthony Romeo's in the house. He is drinking black tea. Nolan is in the house. Nolan, what are you drinking this after hours? And Mr. Steve is in the house. Mr. Steve is drinking some water. He's playing it conservative tonight. So anything alcoholic. It can be. It's after hours. It's after hours. That's why I named it this. Right? It's called the After Hours for a reason. Now, I can't be drinking because I'm doing the show. Maybe it might make the show a little more entertaining if I did. I don't know. Lisa's in the house. Hello, Lisa. She's drinking water as well. Let me see. What was Nolan say he was drinking? In the car. Drinks all gone. Yep. So Mr. Brian Teague is in the house, my fellow TDMM study group member. He's not drinking anything yet because he's got to read his homework. Good job. Remember, 70 pages. 70 pages. Have you done the test, the practice test for chapter 1 yet, Brian? Let me know in the chat box. Yeah. So we got a good show lined up for you tonight. We're going to be talking about NPTL testing, bixi training, B+ and C+ transceivers, and the difference between BIX blocks and LSA blocks, right? So we're going to be starting off with all kinds of cool stuff tonight. Now, before I get, I forgot the acronym challenge. Hold on, we can turn off this caption first. This is what happens when you're a one-man band, right? So we got to put in the acronym challenge because we always start it off every week. And if you're following me on LinkedIn, you know that I do a acronym challenge every weekday morning at 8:10. And if you're one of my ardent people, you know that this week I am in chapter 12, the outside plant edition chapter of the TDMM. I'm going through the TDMM through chapters. So this acronym is found specifically in chapter 12. It's in other chapters too, but it is in chapter 12. And the acronym is PVC. PVC. Now, do you know what PVC means? If you do, put it in the chat box, right? Let us know, right? PVC. That is the acronym challenge. Oh, I've got to say my acronym morning, right? Please spay or neuter your acronyms. Help control the acronym population. We have enough. We don't need any more, right? So spay or neuter your acronyms. So the acronym is PVC, and it stands for that. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Drum roll. Brrr, boom. Polyvinyl chloride. And a kudos to Mr. Nolan for knowing that. Kudos to you, buddy. PVC. Now, PVC is a compound that's used. I apologize if you hear my puppy. Our pizza must be getting here. Polyvinyl chloride is actually used for, oops, wrong button, dang it. Polyvinyl chloride is used for lots of things. It's used for making conduit. It's used for making the jacket of the cable. So now you know. I love signing off that way. Hey, you might have noticed I put a new thing up here in the corner. This QR code. See it right there? Dun, 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 dun. Somebody put their camera on that QR code and let me know if it works. Please just put your camera up to it. It should pop up and say, open up that website. That will take you to what's called a link tree. And in that link tree, it's going to give you quick access to my Instagram account, my TikTok account, my LinkedIn account. It's going to give you access to give me an email. There's even a tab there for scheduling time, 15 minutes with me, right? And there's also a tab there to buy me a cup of coffee. And if you buy me a cup of coffee, I'll send you one of these for free. Yeah, I'll send you one of these if you buy me a cup of coffee. Yeah. And then there's a link to the podcast. There's a link to the show. You can start seeing a QR code everywhere. My buddy Todd would probably be happy with me because that I figured out QR codes and I'm actually using them. Right? Oh, yes. So there you go. So did anybody try that to see if it worked by any chance? It does work. Yes. Thank you. That is absolutely cool. I'm gonna start putting it on all my stuff. Now, see, when this gets recorded and then it gets put out on the YouTube and LinkedIn, it's always going to be there. So all that somebody's got to do is say, hey, what's that QR code? Ding. Voila. I am just a social media star. What can I say? All righty. So permanent virtual connection. That's what Ed, the old tech guy, says on TikTok. Is that actually true or you just make that up? Just curious. Okay, so here's the first question. This question actually was a leftover from last After Hours show. Now, you probably remember last Thursday I didn't do a show. And I didn't do a show because, honestly, I forgot about it. And actually, I've remembered it at like 4:40 something. And I'm like, I don't have enough time to put this together now because it takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours of prep time to do this show, believe it or not. So can I colorize it with my own logo? I don't know. I will give that a shot. That would be cool, wouldn't it? That would help my branding even more. I'll have to try that because that would look really, really cool. But yeah, I'll give that a shot. So how do I take my coffee? I take my coffee with cream and sugar. Yeah. So thank you for asking. It's if you click on that QR code, there's a spot where you can go buy me a cup of coffee, and then I'll send you a sticker. That's right. My brain's not working right there. Getting back to my original question. Remember, this question actually came from 2 weeks ago, and this is a summation of it because when I saw the thing come out, right, I saw it come up in the chat box, but the chat box is pulling feed from YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook, and I just could not find the comment. So, but I did remember, and the guy, and I don't remember who it was, and I apologize. And whoever it was asked, Chuck, what is the difference between a Bix block and an LSA block? A Bix block and an LSA block. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't answer it during the show because that allowed me to create this cool graphic. Now, my TikTok folks, you're not getting to see this cool graphic. I'm sorry. But if you go to YouTube and watch the YouTube live stream, you'll see it there. So what you see on the screen in front of you, on the left, top left, is a Bix connector. And the top right, you see an LSA connector. So the question that was put to me is, what is the difference between these two connectors, right? Now, I've terminated both of these. I'm changing glasses because I can see better with these, right? So let's start off with the Bix block. That's the one on the left-hand side. Now, when you look up in catalog, it's always spelled BIX. BIX, okay? Just looking to do an Ethernet burst test. What? Cat7, but wanted to verify as of terminations. Ooh, Jason took. And fiber flippers in the house. So I've got some test people in here that might be able to help you with that. Moving on. So it's actually BICS, and that's an acronym, another acronym, and it stands for Building Industry Cross Connect, but it's pronounced BIX, so people just spell it BIX. Now, BIX is used for IBDN work, and that is Information Building Something Distribution Network, Integrated Building Distribution Network. So, and it was actually created by a company called Nortel. And it uses a dovetail base, and you can terminate both unshielded and shielded cable in it. Okay, that's the BIX block I'm talking about there on the top left-hand screen of your thing. It can accommodate cables between 22 and 26 gauge, and it does not allow you, though, to stack conductors. Like the 66 blocks, we could actually put 2 conductors on a pin, but you can't do that with the BIX blocks. Now, according to the Bixi Telecom Distribution Methods Manual, the TDMM, you can actually get these BIX blocks up to Category 6A. I've never terminated one up to Category 6A. It's been years, decades even, since I've terminated one. It was probably Cat 5E or maybe even Cat 3, right? Now, when you actually look at the pins inside of that BIX block, it's a phosphorus bronze alloy that's plated with tin alloy. So the way that you actually would terminate this block, when you look at the block, you'll notice there's some labeling in the middle of the block, but then there's these 2 holes on the very left-hand side and 2 holes all the way over on the right-hand side. You actually have to put these 2 little tie wraps through those things. And then you put this block in the holder, the 100 pair holder, and then you bring the cable in from the top and you run it through those tie wraps. And then you double it back and then you terminate it. Okay, now it uses a very special tool, the tool you see underneath that. That's called a BIX tool. Okay. And I really like the BIX tool when I first started doing terminations with them, because the BIX tool has like a pair of snips or scissors on it. It cuts the conductor for you, right? And then after you cut it down, you got to take the BIX block out, rotate it, and then put it back in. I never liked that part of, because I could never get it to look nice. So I'm not a real big fan of the BIX blocks. I'll be the first to admit it. And then there's the LSA connectors. Now, some people know them as the Krone connectors. But Krone was a company that came out with the Krone connector, and they're based in, I think, Germany, Berlin, I think, actually. So the LSA actually, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce those words because they're German, right? I don't want to try it, but the LSA, L is a word, S is a word, A is a word. But those words actually mean, if you run them through the translator on Google, did you know Google has a translator? Isn't that cool? You run them through there, and what it means is solder-free, screw-free, and strip-free. So that's what that means. So the connector you see there, the Krone actually has 2 different connectors. They've got one connector for doing 4-pair cabling and another one for doing like backbone cabling. So what you would do is you'd run the cable up behind they have a metal can that you would mount to the wall. And then the metal can, it had this, you got to be really careful because those ends where the blocks come on are extremely sharp. Extremely sharp. Ask me how I know that. Yeah. And then what you do is you run the cables up, you run it through the little hook thing in the back of the block, bring it up over the top. You punch it down with the Krone tool, punch tool, and then it punches it. And then you can't really tell from the picture here, but there's actually a spot inside of it that you can actually insert an equipment cord, and you can actually test it. And you can actually even do a disconnect with it. Now, here's the cool thing. So the Krone tool, the Krone punch block, it also uses a dovetail design as well. But there's these 2 connection clips inside of it. It grabs a hold of the connector at a 45-degree angle. A 45-degree angle, which is different than the BIX. Now, I remember all the marketing literature when this thing first came out, and they said that the advantage of that 45-degree was if you're trying to identify a cross connect and you're tugging on the cross connect, you're not going to pull it out of that block. Okay, that was one of the marketing tools. And then the connectors are also phosphorus brown alloy, but the original Krone ones, the original Krone blocks, were plated with silver. Silver. Yeah. If you're in my TDMM study group, remember we talked about silver this week, didn't we? Silver and gold are the best conductors for electricity, but we don't use them for cabling because the cost. Copper is a much more cost-efficient way of doing that. So my preference has always been to do the Corona over the Bix. Oh, one other thing about the Bix, with a 66 frame, you start from the left, you work your way to the right, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on and so forth. With the Bix, you start down here and you put one there and you put one there, and then you put one up here and you put one there, and it's like a really weird kind of thing. So, but I still have my. Somebody on TikTok says they still have the chrome punch tool. I have mine too, floating out in the garage. I haven't used it in 20 years, right? So, and here's the funny thing. So, Krone got bought out. They got bought out by, who was it? I think I wrote it down. Yeah. So, Krone got bought by ADC, which then got bought by Tyco, which now I think is CommScope. So, some of your new LSA blocks aren't silver plated. They're actually tin plated like the others. So, I don't know if you still get the good advantage out of that. So, there you go. All righty, so let's go up to the next question. Dun, dun, dun. Boom. So this question came to me via Facebook. I get lots of questions throughout the week, and I always save them. I answer them to the people in where medium they come from, but I save them for the show as well. So this one, and I kind of again boiled down that question. That question reads, "Hey Chuck, if I was looking to get 20 plus of my technicians to take the bixi Tech 1 certification, what would be my recommendation for a game plan?" First off, I got to say kudos to you. Kudos to you for doing that, because a lot of people in our industry don't. I thought everybody wanted to get certified, but I see a lot of comments from people saying, "Oh, I don't want to get a certification," and they're doing it either out of fear or whatever their personal reasons may be. But I'm telling you right now, a certification tells an employer or a potential customer that you're willing to go the extra mile. I heard that from Lee Renfro. Thank you, Lee, at the Bixi conference. I told you I was going to steal it. Told you. I warned you. Yeah, it's going to go the extra mile. So that way, if you're the customer, you know that technician is going to go the extra mile for you when it comes to doing your job. So that's kind of cool there, right? So you have several different options here, okay? And I don't know any of the costs, because when I became a Bixi instructor, that was 20 something years ago. So if you want the actual costs, you're going to have to go to Bixi to get that. I'll talk about that more in a second. So the first option, and these options are in no particular order. So the first option is send all 23 guys to Tampa to go take a class. Now that's going to be kind of expensive, because the class is going to be, I don't know, $1,200, $1,500, $1,800 per person. Then you got to fly them there. Then you got to put them in a hotel, and then you got to feed them. That's going to be an expensive option, right? Lots of cost there. So option 2 is you can have Bixi do, and I think they call it a suitcase class, right? A suitcase class. So they will actually come to your office to teach your technicians. Now, I have no idea what that cost is. I would imagine it's at least the base cost of the class plus travel and expenses for the instructors, and whatever profit for Bixi. That's called a suitcase class. Okay. The third option is, and this is the option that when I used to work for Hinkles McCoy that we did. The third option is become an ATF, an authorized training facility, an ATF. Now, to become an authorized training facility, you got to put in an application. You got to send at least one person down to become a certified trainer. They take what's called the TE 350 class, or at least I think it's called the TE 350. It's been a while. And then what they do is they teach you the class, and then you got to teach the class back to the instructors, and there's some modeling stuff. And then if you pass that class, now your instructor is allowed to actually teach the Bixi curriculum. Okay. Now that's the first step. For that option, now you also have to build out your Bixi lab, because Bixi is very particular about the size, how it's set up, the number of people that you can have in that room, because they're trying to maintain a quality training program. Now, I know when we built our Bixi lab, when I worked for Hinkles, it cost us $15,000 to build the lab. That counts the labor, the materials, and all that other stuff. You might be able to do it cheaper if you get some vendors to donate some product. But remember, though, it's got to be vendor neutral. So you can't just use all of one manufacturer. It's got to be vendor neutral. And when it comes to the Bixi ATF license, there's two options here. You can get what's called their proprietary license, or you can get what's called their general agreement. Proprietary agreement or general agreement. Sorry, I got that wrong. So the proprietary agreement means you can only teach your staff. You can only teach your staff, right? So you would schedule the class. You would notify bixi that you're teaching the class. So that way, if they want to come out and audit you, they can. And they will audit you. They will come out, at least in the very, very beginning, to certify to see you actually in action. And then they reserve the right to audit you at any given time, right? So you notify them, and you got that proprietary agreement. You're teaching your own people, okay? And then you get done. So that's a really good way, because now you can keep doing that. And there's some clout that goes with that. If you are a bixi ATF and you put that on your jobs when you're submitting for proposals and stuff, I'm telling you, customers love that. And I know that from personal experience. So then the other license is called a general agreement. Now, the general agreement means that you can train any qualified individual. Any qualified individual. So you can train, if somebody were to all of a sudden want to become a bixi certified installer, they could come to you and you could train them and you could charge to pay them. Some people think, oh, Chuck, that's an additional revenue source. Could be. Absolutely could be. Now, what I have found of being a trainer of many people over the years, because for those who don't know me, my day job, I'm a trainer, and I've been training, well, my whole entire life I've been a trainer. I'm always teaching people, but I'm actually being paid to teach people now. And for the last 10 years, I've taught probably, I don't know, actually 11 years, 1,500 to 2,000 people a year times 11 years. You do the math. I've taught a lot of people. And one of the things I find to be a constant true statement is, if you're a contractor and you got an ATF and you are training people and you have the general agreement, other contractors are not going to send their guys to your office for you to train, because you got that technician for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and they're afraid that you're going to steal them. So that doesn't happen too often. You won't get too many customers that way. But there are a lot of people in distribution, like the Gray Bars, the Accutex, and some other people. They're in distribution. They will create a bixi lab at their sales office, and then nobody can come in. Now you're in a neutral environment, and you don't have to worry about somebody stealing your customers. Now, let's talk about pricing. So if you're going to go down the ATF route, you're going to want to reach out to Christopher Hobbs at bixi. Okay. If you want to go down that having the bixi suitcase thing, you're going to want to reach out to Nelson Cologne. Okay. Both great guys. I know them both. I've met them both. Nelson and I are really good friends on Facebook and LinkedIn and all this stuff. Those are the people you're going to want to talk to when you actually do your pricing. Okay. Because I have no idea, period, what that cost is going to be. Because, like I said, it's been a long time since I've done that. So the next question is, and this one came in from TikTok. And so, again, I boiled down on that to make it short. But basically, he says, Chuck, I want to buy a gpon oltc plus transceiver and also a B plus transceiver. If they are equal, why do I need both? I tell you all the time, I know a lot about our industry, but I don't know everything about our industry. I had to reach out for some help on this. The expert had to go to the experts to get the answer to this question, because Chuck doesn't know. I've never done gpon. So I reached out to some friends of mine on LinkedIn, and I got some answers for you. So when you actually look, I'm pulling up my notes for those who are seeing. So you see a change of light there. I'm looking at my notes here. So when you look at those two, they both operate at 1490 and 1310, right? They both use encapsulation SFP types. And their port rates are both 2.49 gigabit per second for transmit and 1.24 gigabyte for the receive. Now, where the difference comes between the B plus and the C plus is in the transmit and receive powers, right? So the B plus, it puts out 1.5 dBm minimum output optical power, where the C plus puts out 3 dB. Okay, so it's actually twice as strong. Right, so then the maximum output power is 5 dBm for the B plus and 7 dBm for the C plus. For the receiver sensitivity, it's negative 28 dBm on the B plus and negative 32 for the dBm. So the C plus it's more sensitive, so it can pick up the signals better, and it's a stronger output. But everything else is pretty much almost identical between those two. So that goes to answer your question, right? There we go. All righty. And now, another question. And then I'll go up to the chat box and see what questions are there. All right. So this question comes from Brian via email. And Brian wants to know, what is the best way to test a wireless access point terminated with a mod end connector? Now, before I answer this question, I got to give a plug. Go check out my buddy Steve. He's in the room tonight. Tech Talk with Steve. He's doing a show on this March 1st. I highly suggest you attend it because Chuck will be attending it. And if I think it's enough for me to attend it, then you should be attending it as well. So if you're not already following Tech Talk with Steve, you should be, and you definitely want to be watching that. So I'm only going to give you the brief answer. I guarantee you Steve is going to be diving in way deeper than I will. So let's talk. So what happened in this particular scenario was somebody ran a category 6A cable from the horizontal cross connect in the telecom room to a wireless access point in the ceiling. And instead of putting a keystone jack on the end of it and a patch cord, they crimped an 8PHC or RJ45 mod end connector and plugged that in. Now, when you think about your testers, they got permanent link heads and they got channel heads, right? Well, you can't use the permanent link heads, so it leaves you the channel heads. But here's the problem. The channel head, the measurement starts on the other side of the mod end connector. So you really, the thing that you most likely messed up, you're not even measuring. So you have to use what's called a patch cord adapter. Okay. They look similar to channel heads, but the patch cord adapter, the measurement starts in front of that mod end connector, in front of it. So you got to use that patch cord adapter. And on top of that, you got to make sure that you use the right category rated adapter for that. So if it's a wireless access point, it's most likely a category 6A cable, right? So you got to use the category 6A patch cord adapter. If you run an NPTL to like an industrial sensor, an access device, and you use Cat5e, you got to use a Cat5e patch cord adapter. So there you go. So let's go ahead and close that. That was all the questions I had for tonight. Let's go check the chat box. And I apologize because I haven't been keeping up with the chat box because, well, lots of stuff. Yeah, because I am a one band show, so I'm doing all this kind of fun stuff. So let me see. Anthony says here, the bixi installer training course virtual class Central 25 12:10 a.m. So very good. There is somebody put up the link for that as well. I'll make sure I put that in there. Telaid is an authorized training facility. I looked them up. Bixi has a spot on their page where you can look up by state and find what ATFs are in your state. There's none in Florida. There's definitely none in Florida, which really, really sucks. But maybe that's a business opportunity for somebody. If I had the money, I'd do it. If I had the money, I would absolutely do it. Let me see. Let me see. I'm trying to see if we have any. Oh, Fiber Flip Floppers is on here through Facebook now. Fun fact: Nortel's automated assistant voice is Nancy Nortel. I didn't know that. Very cool. Let me see. Okay, that was the only questions. I don't have any other questions. So again, make sure you visit the QR code, okay, and make sure that you go buy me a cup of coffee. I'll send you a sticker. If you want to schedule 15 minutes with Chuck Bowser RCDD, you can do that through there as well. You can send me an email. Check out all my social media accounts. 6:29. Pizza should be getting here any minute. Until next time, everybody, remember, knowledge is power. See you next Thursday night. Take care.